Oh yeah.
all of because your followers have usually interesting questions, so we can also bring them over here.
Okay.
I forgot to get my water bottle, so now I'm just gonna be thirsty throughout the whole thing.
No. Go get your water bottle. It's very important to be hydrated.
Yeah, but it's fine. I'll get it in a minute. Yeah. So, yeah, you can share the stream on social media with your followers and stuff, and then we can um,
Let me see one
take
second.
questions and stuff. Then,
Okay, are we live right now?
yeah, well, we're live.
Okay.
I told you we're going live.
Oh, this is for your anniversary. Oh, happy anniversary, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been 6 years.
Damn. Nice, man. You
Yeah.
started, sometimes, well, oftentimes I feel like you started way after me, but you didn't. You only started like 6 months after me, I think.
Yeah, I remember you were around at the time that I started. Uh,
Yeah, I was in February 2018. You're September
yeah,
2018?
yeah, uh,
Nice.
yeah. It's been 6 years, and I still have I have ideas that I wrote down back then. Oh, I'm gonna make a video on this, um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's still something that I haven't made a video on it because I have, like, for example, at the time originally I've written all this down that I was planning on making 2 videos a month, and one
Mm-hmm.
of those videos would be like a biography video of some golden age scientist or something. Um, I have all these names written down. Um, so yeah, at the time I had all these plans, but it just didn't uh, pan out in the way that I was planning at the time.
You still got loads of time, man. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, but now I'm like pivoting towards early Islamic history
Mm.
as much because I recently I've been making I have a series of videos on the Abbasid Caliphate, and recently I try to make it the next episode in that,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I recorded it and all that. But when I sat down to edit it, I just found it to be very boring, and I still haven't been able to edit it because it's just not a topic that interests me anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, but compared to that, I have a video about what radiocarbon dating the earliest manuscripts of the Quran tells us, which is like I sat down to write it down. It was like within a couple of days I was done with the script, and like I'm gonna record now. I'm very excited about that. So yeah, I guess I've pivoted quite a lot.
No, that's fine, man. By the way, I just realized Twitter doesn't allow you to post links anymore, right?
Doesn't I think I no I shared my this stream's link there. I don't know though. It's Twitter. It's gone crazy. Or crazier than.
No, it just puts the name of the video, and
Does it?
then what the hell?
No. The link is there. Like I shared it, and the link is there.
Oh, second, let me see.
Yeah. So yeah.
How do you do that? Why can't I do that?
Um. I don't know. I just used the share button on YouTube
Ah,
and
okay.
just moved
Try that.
that over. So I'm not
Let me
sure
try.
if well, that should work for you.
Okay. In the meantime, do we have any comments or questions from people?
Yeah, couple.
I'm still not used
Somebody
to
was.
Twitter being renamed X.
Oh yeah, it's awful. To be honest, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's like tweet is a word that is in the dictionary. That's the
Oh.
kind of like brand power that companies would kill for. And
Mm,
Twitter had that, and then Elon went ahead and he renamed it to look like a porn site. So it's
mm,
just yeah. Sometimes when it's open, and it gives you a red icon when there's a notification, And like at first glance, I'm always a little bit like, what is that site? Is that like something that I have
Uh,
opened accidentally or something? But then I'm like, oh, okay, it's just Twitter. It's just ridiculous.
yeah, I don't understand why he would want to change it, but it seems to
Yeah.
be working. I hear more and more people talking about X, and it seems seamless. You know,
Yeah.
like people are making the transition.
Yeah. But it's a tragedy, to be honest. The whole thing, the black logo, what ugly logo. And the whole thing is just Elon Musk really screwed up.
You reckon? Yeah. You don't sound like you're a big fan of Elon Musk.
No, of course not.
Okay.
But you know, the whole thing, like it's a debacle, to be honest. Yeah, you can sort of see how um, billionaires are not as smart as people think that they are. In fact, they might even be more stupid than the rest of us, because
You
of the
think?
fact that they what?
You think?
Yeah.
I think it depends on
Um,
what aspect of life or intelligence we're talking about. Because in certain aspects, obviously, well, not all of them. You know, if you've inherited money, say, but yeah, no, in certain aspects, if you're an entrepreneur and you've set up a business from scratch all the way up into a multi-billion-dollar company, there's clearly some degree of very, very high intelligence in the realm of, I don't know.
not necessarily. There's also the fact that you could have just gotten lucky. You could have exploited people. There's a number of things that could have happened. It's not just
Okay, but
intelligence.
two things
But
though. One, l- luck. Luck is a really weird thing, man. You shouldn't really put any emphasis on luck when you're doing like an analysis. Luck is just something everybody gets and doesn't get. You don't factor in luck. You know, it's just like
no,
some people get lucky, and luck is real
it's
weird because loads of people get lucky without knowing they're getting lucky. Like even getting lucky, it's not always as obvious as, oh, $1 million just fell in my laps, I got lucky. It's also recognizing, oh, this is luck, let me pounce on this opportunity as well. I don't really like it when people like emphasize even a little bit on what luck is an important part, but like when you make it out to be a massive thing, I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's smart because everybody
no,
gets
it's
throughout their life.
no, it is massive because sometimes circumstances around you happen that simply nobody could have predicted, and you get lucky because of that. Veritasium has a really good video on this: is success hard work or luck? And he talks about all these things that, like for example, the holders of the record in like running,
Hmm.
they when they made the record, they had wind behind them, and so the wind was also pushing them forward. Wind wasn't resisting them, so like that's purely luck.
Of
So
course,
there's always things like these that factor in
but
something that
it's
happens that.
too unstable of a factor
Yeah.
to to factor in in detail beforehand. I feel like you should just take it as a given. Okay, I may be lucky, and then just move ahead. You know, it's not it's not that big of a deal. And then the other thing, the exploitation. This is gonna sound a little mean from me, but like obviously it's not good to exploit people, right? But sometimes like it shows a little bit of intelligence, like number one, exploiting people really isn't as easy as people think it is. And at the end of the day, if you recognize, okay, my exploitation of cheap labor is going to give me an advantage over somebody else, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that comes down to intelligence.
No,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. It's like basic facts right now. Like you're not smart for outsourcing everything to China because everybody is outsourcing to China. I guess, like for
Right.
example, when Jack Welch started the buyback program at GE, you can say that that was intelligence, that he was smart enough to say, okay, if we buy stocks back, then the value of stocks is going to go up. But that was intelligence, but everybody who has been doing it since is not intelligent. They're just copying a principle that has been established by someone else.
That's true. Once it's been established, yeah, then you can make the argument that is it really that small if everyone else is doing it.
Yeah. And yeah, there's some questions that we can look at.
Okay.
This is something that I want to talk about. Um, have to ask Syawish if you still value Western sources after seeing how they're reporting Palestine. If they're this biased now, imagine how biased they were back then. When I say Western sources, I don't actually say that sources written by Christians back in the day. Sources written by Christians back in the day are, of course, biased, and Western scholars today certainly recognize that. For example, Patricia
Wait,
Crona
I
and
wish,
Michael.
sorry, give a bit of context. Are you referring specifically to like post the Israel-Palestine issue, or are you taking it back to the Crusades as well?
Back like Crusades and the rise of Islam and all that stuff. So there's like, okay, like when you say Western sources, it doesn't actually mean that you are looking at Christian sources for the rise of early Islam. Let's talk about the rise of early Islam in that way. When you take a look at the Christian sources about the rise of early Islam, of course they're biased. They're biased. They're very religiously charged. They call the Prophet lots of insulting things. But when we look at those sources, we don't look at them as some kind of fact. We don't look at them, oh, this is true because it's written by a Christian, and this is not true because it's written by a Muslim. That's certainly not how it goes. And Patricia Crona and Michael Cook did this with Haggarism back in the day, and they were criticized, and they're still criticized for uncritically using non-Islamic sources. So that's not the thing. When I say I value Western sources, I don't mean actual sources. I mean the Western historical method is what I value. And so there are a lot of scholars who are Muslims. There are a lot of scholars who are not living in the West. For example, in the UAE, there's some universities that are doing some work, some good work. There are many scholars who are Muslims. There are many, but they're using the Western historical method, and that's what I say when I say that I value that. And to say that the modern scholars are biased, that's certainly also true for some scholars, but they are not in that way divided by religion. They're not like, oh, I'm a Christian, and so I want to paint Islam in a bad light. That's certainly not the case. And there are people like, for example, somebody in one of my videos told me to read the book "Did Muhammad Exist" by Robert Spencer. Now, Robert Spencer runs a website called Jihad Watch. That's certainly not a guy who's going to be unbiased, right? So you ignore scholars like that, but most scholars are not biased in that way, and they don't talk from a religious perspective. I talk about this in a video that I'm making, in which I'll be talking a little bit about how the historical method applies to early Islamic history. So be sure to watch out for that. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I like the Western historical method, but yeah, I've said it for a long time. I think there's a little bit of a hiccup somewhere in the Western psyche when it comes to analyzing the Islamic world, the Middle East specifically, where they don't. I don't know if it applies with other parts of the world, but I often find myself thinking like this scholar doesn't fully understand the society, which doesn't necessarily disqualify them from being able to track their history and whatever, talk about their history. But you need to have like societal context, like For example, like the place I was born in, right, in Afghanistan. If you saw women wearing skirts, you would pass a value judgment on them, on their character. Forget about everything else, on their character. But then when you come to the West and you see women wearing skirts, there's loads of normal women wearing skirts, and that character judgment doesn't apply. The negative character judgment doesn't apply. They could be very, very nice. And if I hadn't had the experience of coming to the West and being directly exposed to that, then I would have probably just stuck within the confines of those negative character judgments that my culture kind of perpetuates. And I feel like the reverse.
It's also true, yeah.
Exactly. So, and the thing that kind of makes it a thing for me, because I know that this is normal, right? Like when this is very natural. When you don't have exposure to a culture or a set of codes that are very different from yours, you're going to see them as alien. Very, very natural. It's fine. But dude, you're a scholar. You don't have that excuse. It's your job, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, most scholars tend to like look into this. You know, a lot of scholars can speak Arabic and they've spent time in Arab countries. Recently, I saw a live stream by a scholar on Twitter. I don't remember, but she had so many original Arabic books behind her. Like, you know, those big volumes with like the beautiful
they look
calligraphy done
cool.
on them. Yeah, and so a lot of scholars can actually speak Arabic and they try to eliminate their biases. But there are certain things like in my video on Petra, I talked about Dan Gibson um, says that Al-Tabari records these people who come to Ibn Zubair and say that we're the people who face the same qibla as you. And he says that, oh, this means that there was a different qibla at the time in play. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, because these are kind of metaphors that when you read the hadiths, when you read the Quran, you sort of understand that there are metaphors like this.
Mm,
These
mhm.
are like beautiful ways of saying that we're the same people, you know, stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that coming from like our side of the world, we do understand these things that I think that some people don't. But I would also say that historians who take their field seriously, they do actually like they learn Arabic and they try to eliminate their biases. So that's also like when you're a good historian, like if you just want to if you just want to propagate uh, like a narrative of Muslims versus Christians or Muslims versus Jews, then yeah, sure. But when you're a real historian.
I think that's a great point. I think the language is a very, very important element. But I would
Hmm.
go one step further. I would say if you're a historian of a certain region, I think it should be mandatory for you to live there, not for a very long time, but for an extended period of time, at least a couple years. And don't even do
Yeah.
any historical research whilst you're there. Maybe go to archives when you're whatever, but just live a normal life. Just 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 put your fingers on the pulse of the society so that you can understand things that you very nicely pointed out, by the way, like having the cultural slash linguistic
Hmm.
understanding of, oh, this thing they mean it as like a metaphor, and this thing is a very serious thing,
Yeah.
just put your finger on the pulse of the society. Because I know this is a little bit different. Obviously, I'm talking about policymakers, but especially when I hear about Western politicians, I'm speaking specifically about like diplomats and foreign ministers throughout like the 20th century and into the 21st century. When you hear some of them, I'm speaking specifically about the British and the American ones. You hear some of them talk about like the Middle East. It's like
Yeah.
your your knowledge of that area is akin to like a child's,
Hmm.
and this is your region of expertise. Like,
Hmm.
what are you doing?
Yeah, but also a lot of them were like knowledgeable on the matter. I once read somewhere that when they were dividing Iraq, they actually had a map showing which villages were like Sunni majority and which villages were Shia majority, and they didn't really care. They just carved a line in the sand. to create Iraq and separate it from Iran and all that. So a lot of them were knowledgeable, but there is, and still to this day, there is a lot of agenda. When you talk about politicians and diplomats, there's a question about that as well. Um, it's a lot of the time it's also agenda. It's not just that they don't know stuff, but
Yeah, especially
it's
with
also
politics,
yeah,
the fact, yeah, that they have an agenda uh, obfuscates things quite a lot.
yeah.
But I do want to make a distinction between I don't know how to contrast them, but there's having knowledge, which, by the way, isn't really that big of a deal, especially now in 2024 when you have access to things like Wikipedia and the internet.
Hmm.
It's really easy to get knowledge, but it's not knowledge that me and you are talking about. Like when I say the
Hmm.
finger
Yeah.
on the pulse of the society, it's something like you could be raised, say you're a 25-year-old Pakistani, you're a stoner, you don't care about geopolitics, current affairs, anything like that. You're still in a better position to understand your society than a person who's an Oxford graduate, who's a lecturer at the
Hmm.
University of Oxford on Pakistani society. You know what I mean? It's not just about knowledge or about articulation. It's just getting it, like just getting it, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, definitely, because there are a lot of things that are very difficult to put into words on
yeah.
paper, but living there, you understand that this is how a society operates. And in most societies, there's still a lot of DNA left from back in the day. So there are still traditions that existed 1,000 years ago,
Mhm.
which can be. But okay, let's move on to another
Can I pick the
question.
next question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's probably the first one. Thoughts on the future of the Islamic civilization? How will it adapt, and how
Hmm.
might it succeed or fail in this current world? I'll let you go first, my guy.
I at the moment, my thoughts on Islamic civilization in general are pretty grim.
Wow. Okay.
Because we don't have a system of governance at the time. Most
Mhm.
of our countries pretend to be democracies, but they're not. And I'm not saying the democracy is great. I'm just saying that they're not democracies either.
Mhm.
They're certainly not healthy democracies, and you don't, without sort of a system of governance. Because when you look at most of our countries, the governments are very unstable. They can be toppled within minutes. Um, and other than that, you have things like regional conflicts. You have a lot of kinks that need to be worked out. Um, which at the moment, at least like short term, I don't think that the Islamic civilization is going to look much different than it does right now.
Mhm.
But over time, we could see something else, with especially with like Western hegemony um, fading out. There's quite a few interesting aspects that could play out. But there's also the fact that there's a lot of immigration from the Islamic world to the Western world
Mhm.
because of the demographic decline that we talked about last time as well.
Mhm.
So there's certainly a lot of Islamic civilization that is being exported.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, but generally, like at least short term, I don't see that much change happening in Islamic world. Like, okay, in general, you can see geopolitical change, but like I'm saying that vast changes, like that's not really something that I see happening.
I think very differently to you. I am
Hmm.
very bullish. I'm very optimistic about the future of Islamic civilization. And the biggest concern I have is the one that you raised about the lack of. I think you were trying to essentially talk about institutional stability, the lack
Hmm.
of political institutional stability.
Yeah.
Um, that is a big concern. It is, but it's not a make or break, because even then, your argument can be undermined respectfully. Not every regime is that weak that it could be toppled at a minute's in a minute. I mean, everybody likes to talk about Iran, right? We like to vilify the Ayatollahs in Tehran. Dude, look at what they've weathered. Ultimately, it's my philosophical, forget political, it is my philosophical belief that you only know when something is strong. It could be a relationship between a man and a woman, it could be a government, it could be whatever, even an individual. right? You only know that they're strong when they have weathered adverse situations. And
Hmm.
dude, Iran has the Ayatollahs has weathered some really, really adverse situations, and it's still here. It's still kicking. I get it. There's protests, big protests kicking off every few years, but it doesn't really look like they're on their way out. You know, you look at.
Well, yeah.
Go on, go on, go on.
Sorry, sorry. To like Iran would be an exception
Syria,
if you look at
Syria.
Syria at the time with the whole civil war thing.
Yeah, but it weathered that. Where is it now? It weathered. This is my point. Is it weathered it, right? And the Syrian
Yeah.
civil war is more or less over, right? So there, Syria. That's example number two. Egypt. Yeah, it wasn't the birthplace of the Arab Spring. That was Tunisia, but it was the flagship country of the Arab Spring. Sisi, let's be honest, Sisi could easily have replaced Hosni Mubarak, even if there was no Arab Spring,
Hmm.
right? It's another high-ranking military officer replacing a previously high-ranking military officer. What's really changed in Egypt, right? So they've weathered a humongous storm, and that doesn't mean they're going to weather the storms of the future. Because I've been reading a little bit recently about some of the current problems that Egypt has. It seems really, really big, like the scale of some of the societal issues it has moving its capital. Cairo is ridiculously overpopulated. There is more and more foreign interference in the shape of regional actors like UAE and whatever. So that's all going to be very interesting. But I don't think they're as unstable. They're not. They're not a picture of stability in the same way that, I mean, America, what was it, the 6th of January or something? There's damn near an
Yeah.
insurrection. Ordinary people are rushing in on the Capitol Hill, the White House, but yet life just moves on. That's great political, stability, as it reflects on institutional stability. Sorry. But some of these regimes, they're not as unstable as you think, man. Just because me and you disagree
It's
with them
not.
or we might not like them, they're not as unstable, you
My
know?
point wasn't necessarily that they're unstable, but that most of them are either unstable or dictatorial or just,
Yeah, but that's not
generally,
that's not a make or break. This is what I'm saying. Just
generally,
because you don't like dictatorships and I might not like dictatorships, that's not inherently a negative reflection on them. Dictatorships can work. They definitely can work.
can they really?
Come on, dude. Come
I
on,
mean,
dude.
in the modern era, I really don't think that dictatorships
What
can
about
work.
China? China's not a
You have to
dictatorship.
have, yeah,
What's
but
China?
China is prospering.
That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
China is prospering, and these are
Yeah.
two different things.
No, but it's prospering now. Was it not a dictatorship in the 60s and the 70s when it wasn't prospering?
Under Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened under Mao Zedong? All the people who died.
Okay, but it stayed constant, and then in the 70s and 80s,
It
it
was,
continued being a dictatorship of the party, not of an individual, but of the party. And what happened? It became damn
yeah,
near the
when
biggest economy in
when it sort of laxed at the time. Nixon visited China. At the time, you would call it a dictatorship, but it was, at the time, softening its stance on a lot of things. It was
economically,
coming.
only economically. Socially, in the 80s, a little bit under Deng Xiaoping, a little bit, and then Tiananmen Square happened, and they showed you how much they really softened. Socially, they didn't. Economically, they softened a whole bunch. I'll give you that.
Mhm.
But politically, socially, I don't think they've softened that much. I don't. I think it's very reasonable to call China a dictatorship of the party, maybe not an individual. Now with Xi, maybe it's again of the individual, but probably let's just give it a dictatorship of the party even for now. But it's definitely a dictatorship, man.
I
Definitely.
believe that I believe that things like these kinds of structures, especially dictatorships and even
Yeah.
democracies, to be honest, They only work when you have money. When things are going good, they work. But when, if a dictatorship, if everybody is happy under a dictatorship, if everybody has enough to eat, etc.,
North Korea,
people are fine with it.
the entire
Um,
country is under famine conditions, but it
mhm.
persists with being the most ridiculous. Please, North Korea, if you hear me, don't come after me.
They
The
don't.
most
They don't have internet.
ridiculous system of dictatorial governance you can find. But it the regime doesn't look like it's gonna fall any day now.
Yeah, the regime
So
is not like that's a different thing that we're talking about.
the dictatorship,
Yeah,
Syawish.
that's we're talking about a different thing now.
But it doesn't have
Yes.
prosperity. No. My point is, North Korea doesn't have prosperity, but the dictatorship is prolonging
Yeah,
its life.
but you don't have, for example, social media there. You don't have the same power of the people that exists in other countries. In like other countries, even like the most backwards countries, you have internet now, you have social media, so people are sort of aware of things that are happening there and in other countries. North Korea doesn't have that, so that's a different thing. Like in North Korea, the things that you hear are the things that the supreme leader wants you to hear. So that's a different thing.
I
Um,
made my point specifically in regards to your point about prosperity because with all no, I don't want to call it a cop out, but that's a given. Like you need prosperity. However, I would say that a dictatorship stands a better chance of surviving a lack of prosperity than a liberal democracy. I would put a lot of money on that. In fact,
what does survival mean in that case?
what do you mean? What does survival mean?
Is it survival if the country just continues to exist? If
One,
there's a
survive. Yeah, so one that. Two, survival of the system as well. And then three, some semblance, because I believe that the number one trait to recognize a human by is definitely not morality, it's adaptability. So you would adapt your definition of stability and success, but it would go on three to achieve or be on the path to some semblance of stability slash success.
what's
Relative.
success in that case? Like for example, at the
A
time the
society
Taliban,
working. A society working is the
working
ultimate.
to do what?
Huh?
Working to do what? What is the measure of success?
Functioning. Oh, very nice. This is actually that's a great question. Um, this is how I gauge whether a society is successful. It's all the very basic metrics. Um, Crime rates, different health rates like child infant mortality, female child mortality, whatever, a mother dying after giving birth, children, education rates, fairly, yeah, no, yeah, education rates are important. Um, Things like roads, hospitals. How many hospitals do you have? Do you have a good road network that connects the different parts of your country, especially if you're a big country? That is absolutely essential. um, what else? Just really basic. Do you have clean water? Do you have access to clean water, to sanitation? Do you have a sewage system going on? Those are essentially what I think makes a country successful. It's not, oh, are you happy? Because what the hell does happiness even mean in the first place? Um, it's just those really basic, boring metrics, I think.
Okay, well then in that case, you said that a country continues to survive and a dictatorship has a better chance of survival and success.
Then a liberal democracy. Yeah.
In this case, you're defining success as healthcare, as infrastructure, as education, right?
Yeah, it was 1 second, 1 second. One of the comments, Omar, I think he wants to say raise living conditions. There you go.
Mm.
That's exactly what I want to say.
Dictatorships, other than China, what dictatorship has a very good living condition? Like what you can compare to the West?
No, don't do that. No, I don't know if
No,
I'm
that's what you're
One
saying.
second, one
You're
second.
saying
It's better. No. I don't know if I'm using this term correctly, but I feel like that's a false dichotomy. You can't do that, Syawish. That's not fair.
what?
Different countries have different starting points. If
Okay,
America, wait, brother, calm down, brother. Okay, if some countries have a way higher starting point economically or they've inherited a way more advanced civilization. Like, for example, comparing Turkey with Afghanistan. Dude, that's not fair. The Republic of Turkey had the greatest Islamic power to inherit all of its structural, cultural, and civilizational glories that came with the Ottoman Empire. Where's the flipping Afghans? What they got?
Well, they
What came
claim
out
to. If
an
you
emirate
ask them,
that was
if you ask
struggling
them,
for its survival in the great game between two great powers, a country that doesn't have a network of roads, whereas the Ottomans, they're on their way to building a road or a railway that connects Vienna to Baghdad, Istanbul to Mecca. That's not fair for you to say, right? You have to look at everything, my brother, relative. So if you're going to apply it to, say, for example, Assad's regime in Syria, and for the record, people, I'm not a fan of Assad, okay? But if you're going to compare it to him, you have to use the metric of, okay, so in the 1950s, they didn't have liberal democracy, but they had a form of democracy, right? There were elections and blah, 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 all of that. Look at the standards of living, the living conditions, as Omar said, in the 1950s, and then compare them to the 2020s now that we're in, and you base it off that. You don't base it off, okay, compare it to France.
okay, but in the 1950s and in the 2020s, is the difference between 2020 Syria and 1950 Syria just the fact that there was a democracy-ish back then and now there's a dictatorship, or there's other factors, like, for example, geopolitical factors, for example, the factor that it had just come out of French colonialism? There are other factors as well. How do you want to compare that?
Syawish, of course there are, but you factor that in. Not everything, things can't stay constant. That goes against. That's literally written into the fabric of the universe. Forget us little humans and Earth. What the hell is Earth in the grand scheme of things? It's written into the fabric of the universe. Things always change. You can't use that. What are we talking about? Of
Yeah.
course, things
So
are always
what do you just said that you got to compare a country to 1950s, and now you're saying you can't use that?
the system of governance, my guy. Yeah, obviously. And I'm not ascribing. My bad. I'll put my hands up. I'm not ascribing all of that growth to the system of governance. I'm just saying it's a little convenient that these two things hold up. First of all, I don't even know, but if I had to make an educated guess, I would say Syria in 2020s. Obviously, if you take the civil war out of the occasion, all right, in the 2000s, it was a lot better than Syria in the 1950s. But I don't even know. It could be the opposite. But I don't think it would be the opposite.
The problem with dictatorships is that, first of all, the public, I mean, looking at the theory,
okay,
you don't have the same influence of the public as you do in a democracy. I mean, I'm not saying that a democracy is like 100% public. It's also more or less an oligarchy, like the US, for example, or like Canada. It's more or less an oligarchy in itself, right?
Yeah.
But a dictatorship is a different thing. A dictatorship it's not equipped well enough to have the taxes, have the resources, to be able to build infrastructure, to be able to facilitate education, all that. The only successful democracies in the world, the only prosperous democracies in the world, are ones that have natural resources, and they have a time on a clock on them, right? Like the UAE, the Saudi Arabia. They're all.
Did you say the only successful dictatorships are ones with natural resources? Is that what you said?
Or some kind of edge.
Okay.
And that edge usually has a time clock.
Okay. Keep going, sorry. Yeah.
That edge usually has a time clock on it. For example, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, etc. They're prosperous, but as soon as they run out of oil, what then? They're gonna be poor, and at that point, people are gonna ask the question, "Oh, now what?" At that point, people might be able to might ask, "Oh, what is the legitimacy of this government?" Right? And at that point, you have to ask, what's going to happen now? The public is going to be like, oh, okay, this government is no longer legitimate. We're hungry. What are we going to do? At that point, the public might intervene, and your legitimacy, it just sort of falls apart. And you have no more power in order to sort of build legitimacy out of.
Okay, I think Yeah, no. By the way, what you've said is very, very fair, very, very fair. But I think you have a negative bias in your mind, in your psyche towards a dictatorship that colors everything you're saying. I think it's kind of I don't think it's fair for you to say um, dictatorship is not going to be as well equipped to come up with a taxation system or to focus on education and things like why if you've got a dictator that's interested exclusively not just but exclusively in appropriating the nation's wealth for his own gain, aka Saddam Hussein, and people of that nature, then yeah, that's a very valid argument to make. But not all that's not inherently what dictators supposed to do. I mean, don't get it twisted. If you are an unrivaled alpha leader in a country, you are gonna, throw your weight around a little. You're gonna, for sure, use some of the funds that should have been reserved for the people and whatnot. But there's a lot of funds to go around when you're in charge of a country. You don't need to use all of them, and not all dictators throughout history have used all of the nation's funds as if it's their own little flipping savings account or whatever. You can spend money on the country, and they have, like, loads of people have, like Saddam Hussein. So Saddam Hussein did the exact same thing, man.
Mm.
In the 1970s, again, yes, this kind of feeds into your point about oil and resources. But in the 1970s, the growth that Iraq was making in terms of, as Omar said, living conditions, dude, it was, again, relative. Don't do that whole comparing them to the West. Relative to where Iraq was in the 60s or the 50s or the 40s or the 30s, dude, it was alarming. Like, we're talking about hundreds of percent growth every few years in the literacy rate, in the reduction of infant mortality rate, of the amount of hospitals and schools being built. It was actually like 1970s Iraq is an incredible era to research, and very, very, like, positive and optimistic, which is really sad because once you compare it with what happened in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and then the 2010s, damn, Iraqi history for the past 40 years has been very depressing. But in the 70s, the last word you would use to describe it was depressing, and all of that happened as a result of a dictator.
Okay, I don't
So it is
actually know
possible.
about modern Iran and Iraq enough to debate that. But yeah, we should move on because this is the very first question we got, and we should have someone else.
Hell yeah.
There was there was this guy. Did you think this channel, I guess,
Oh,
would
sorry.
last
Can I
this
say one
long?
more thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait. Mark, I'm not gonna disrespect you, my guy. We're gonna. Did you think this stream would last this? We're gonna answer that in a second.
Channel.
But just keep the previous question up because I want to say something. Sorry, this is just me
Mhm.
being nerdy. Yeah. Listen. I want to give people more and more of an insight
Oh no.
into Tarek's thinking. Yeah. So, people, class is in session. Pay attention. Yeah. I believe that for a country, forget about individuals for a second, a country's success is ultimately one of the ways that a country's success can be measured is by holding very or damn near opposite values together and being able to conciliate and mediate it in the middle and balance it. Whereas on paper and theoretically, somebody might look at that and go, first of all, those are contradictory. You're going through an existential crisis. Secondly, how are you doing this? This is crazy. So in this context, Islamic civilization, one of the reasons I will basically forever be optimistic about the chances of Islamic civilization doing well is because it's grounded in tradition and conservatism. And I think for a political system, your I don't know about success, but in terms of stability, especially when tough times come, you're also almost always guaranteed to do at least half decent. Okay, but then on the flip side, Syawish, now that you have the advent of technology, of the internet, of AI now, and all of these different things, and technology becoming cheaper and more accessible, people in Pakistan, with all due respect, just like Afghanistan, a straight up third world country, but when you look at their computer literacy, it will blow your mind, man. If you ever spend a couple minutes on Fiverr or on Upwork, some of these things that normal Pakistani students, high school students, 18
Yeah.
years old, they like to play cricket in the village with their friends after school. Some of the things that they can do with like thumbnail design and video editing and whatnot, it is breathtaking to behold. So let me just finish my point. When you combine conservatism and traditionalism, which Islam will enforce upon you because it's very smart, with these new not tactics, but tools in the form of technology, I think you can create, if you can just mediate, as long as this, the new tradition, the new technology, the forces of modernity don't dilute or try to repress the forces of tradition, and vice versa. You don't get crazy Salafist. I'm about to finish, Syawish, don't worry. I can tell you want to say something? The forces of Salafism or just super rigid, restrictive, traditional Islam don't neutralize completely and dampen the spirit of progress and modernity. If you can figure out a way, and it's definitely possible, do not be flipping pessimistic and say, oh, it's not possible, one outweighs the other or whatever, undermines the other. If you can combine these two, brother, you are going to be a force to be reckoned with. A force to be reckoned with. You could be a tiny little country with a population of 2 million. I am scared if you are not on my team of you, because you will be a force to be reckoned with.
You're talking about ideals. You're talking about, that's like saying if you can balance your life between like a good diet and a good exercise, you'll be healthy. Of course you'll be healthy, but it's not,
the whole point of life. Syawish.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
whole point of life is you work
Exactly.
towards ideals. If we don't have
Exactly.
ideals, we have nothing.
Exactly, but not
understand that?
everybody follows ideals. Not everybody follows or
Oh,
can follow
everybody
us a
follows ideals.
particular.
No.
No. That's not.
No.
That's the whole
Syawish,
principle of.
brother, everybody follows ideals,
No.
whether they know it or they don't, whether they like it or
Nope.
they
Nope.
don't.
Nope. Nope.
The degree to which they consciously follow ideals is very different. It's very disparate.
No.
Everyone naturally
There's a
follows ideals. You
basic.
have to follow ideals.
There used to be in the world of economics, for example, everybody thought that a person is going to maximize his utility. He's going to try to find the thing with the most utility at the least amount of cost. Like that makes sense, right? That's in theory, that's how people should act, but that's not how people act. And that's the people who wrote the book on that, disproving that, actually won a Nobel Prize, because people don't always even act in their own self-interest. See, they don't even follow ideals. Exactly like you said. Like I said, that if you balance a good diet and a good exercise, you're going to be healthy, but not everybody does that.
Self-interest?
No, people don't always act in their own self-interest.
Okay, but what does not always mean? Like, do you mean a minority of the time, or do you mean like a lot of the time? Because I would argue against
that would differ from time to time, but that's what I'm saying, that it's not. But again,
no, but
another point.
I think people don't act out of self-interest a very small amount of the time. Most of the time, they act out of self-interest.
There's a book called Misbehaving and Nudge. There are these two series of books on economics. They do a lot of research on this topic about how people act against their own self-interest. But another point. You said that Pakistan has, let's use Pakistan as an example. You said that Pakistan has a lot of self-created talent, which is, propagating on Fiverr and all that. Pakistan is a one-party rule system, and that party is the military. It's not a democracy. Pakistan is by no means a democracy. It's a one-party. It's a one-party government. And that, what happened to that self-created talent?
What happened to it, man? Tell me.
Pakistan is installing a firewall. People have not been able to access the internet. Why? Because they're afraid of the people talking online and all that, because it's a dictatorship of a party. And so Fiverr has actually started posting disclaimers: don't deal with people from Pakistan because the internet in their country is not stable. Finances are not stable. So this is what I'm saying, that again, it would be beneficial for Pakistan to have this sort of a self-created part of economy. These are people that the government didn't spend the money on training. These are people that bring in dollars. These are people that pay taxes. All good points. But the government doesn't work in its own self-interest enough to do that. Now, if this was a democracy, at the very least, you would have people be able to protest. You would have people be able to remove the government with enough force. I mean, I'm not saying that democracy is like, it's some sort of utopia, but a democracy that does give you some amount of power. Like, for example, what happened in India. The farmers, there were, like, the government was not promising them enough of a minimum pay on their crops. The farmers protested and the government had to back down, right? In Pakistan, the same thing happened. The government screwed the farmers. When wheat was ready, they imported wheat from other countries. They devalued the crops of the locals. Pakistani people couldn't do anything because we don't even have the power to vote.
Okay, Syawish, this is very cool, and I see you're very passionate about Pakistan's internal politics.
No.
What does this have to do with what me and you have been talking about for the past 20 minutes?
Democracy,
what point is it
democracy and dictatorship.
Okay, what about it?
That's what I'm saying, that under a democracy, at least the public has a little bit of power. Under dictatorship, the people doesn't have, and the dictatorship. The problem with the dictatorship
is that's not always the case. Syawish, can I just say once? Sorry, I keep cutting you off, and I hate when people.
Actually, we both keep doing it, and at this
point,
point,
but you're very nice with it. No, you're very civilized with it. Mainly, I'm the problem. Don't worry. What are you're gonna say? The problem with dictatorships are? Finish that point, please.
The problem with dictatorship is that it doesn't always work in the benefit of even the country or even the dictatorship itself. And at that point, there are no systems of check and balance. You might say, oh, if the dictator is a good person, it's perfect, it's great, awesome.
Yeah.
But how do you ensure that a good dictator comes to the throne? A dictator doesn't need to be good to come to the throne. He just needs to have the most military power to come to the throne. And how do you ensure that? That's the main thing. If in practice you have a good person in charge, it doesn't matter if it's democracy, it doesn't matter if it's a caliphate, it doesn't matter if it's an oligarchy.
Let me say something, okay? So you hit the nail on the head with the number one problem with dictatorships, and you kind of threw this phrase flippantly, but it's the most important phrase we've used in the last 20-25 minutes. Checks and balances. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The greatest, I believe, cause for Western institutional stability, well, it's always going to be prosperity. It's economic prosperity first and foremost. I'm sorry to be such a materialist, right? Economically speaking. But the second one is checks and balances, right? So that's the biggest problem you have with dictatorships. And you're absolutely right. My whole argument lays on the premise that it needs to be a person of a certain character, of a certain personality, who knows he doesn't have checks and balances, but as a result of his own duty and pressure he puts on himself, he decides to act righteous and virtuous. My point is that is not as rare as some people would like to make the dictatorial model to look like. It's definitely not high enough for it to be a sustainable model of governance, which is why I'm not over here campaigning for dictatorships. Please leave me alone, dictatorship. Go do like somewhere else, and I will observe them, from the comfort of my own stable representative democracy. But I will observe them very keenly and enthusiastically, because I have seen certain dictatorial models that I definitely don't think dictatorial models are sustainable long term, and it's not about democracy or whatever. It's just about giving people like a voice, an outlet. So if I can talk very cynically, so that they can so it kind of lets off the steam when things get a little rough, right? And but you need that. It's absolutely essential. So in whatever format you want to do that in, like Western 20th century democracy model, liberal democracy, you want to do it through a shura or what's the other word for a shura? Whatever, like a council. Yeah, just any sort of like a medieval conception of Islamic medieval conception of a council. All you got to do is just give people some sort of a voice. You don't need to do that in the form of parliamentary democracy or whatever. That's one of the models. But yeah, I just wanted to make the point that dictatorships can work. They are not designed inherently to fail. That is a ridiculous.
Okay, we've been at this question for like an hour. We need to move on.
Come on,
Um,
let's go. Servant
yeah.
of the merciful. I'm
Wait,
pretty
let's
sure.
let's first talk about this because
My bad. Sorry, Mark.
Um, did you think this stream would last this long? So what? Well, I mean, everybody thinks that their channel is going to last this long, but I think that like Tariq, like that's a question to you. What did you think? How much success did you think you would get when you started the channel?
I thought I would. I'm sorry. I don't want to. I know people are supposed to be humble when they say this, and I'm a very, very humble person. Trust me. I'm to the point of self-deprecation, right? But dude, I thought I would be immensely successul. I'm going to be 100% honest. I thought I would have a lot more success by this point, 6.5 years in, than I do. And I'm very grateful. 150,000 subscribers is nothing to scoff at. But I thought I would have a lot more. And that's not going to stop me from pursuing this and continuing to have a lot more. I plan on having 10x what I have right now within the next, not few years, but whatever, the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, when I started the channel, I thought that nobody would be interested in Islamic history. And actually, not a lot of people know this, but early on, I made some videos about non-Islamic history. Especially, I made a video about the butterfly ballot, the election of George Bush versus Al Gore. I made a short video about that because I thought that would bring people to my channel, and then I can also continue to making Islamic videos. But yeah, at the time I always thought that, okay, my channel would like taper out around 10K or something. And then this was like, I never expected it to be financially successful. It's not financially successful, but still it's I didn't expect it. So like everything that I've gotten, it's much more than I expected at the time.
See, I feel like people are gonna like your response more than mine. They're gonna
Exactly,
probably.
because you're an evil person. You're a capitalist.
I gotta be honest. What do you mean? I got a lot of confidence in myself and what I'm doing. You're just over here. Maybe it's gonna work or maybe it's not. Hey, listen. Can I point something out? You don't need to put it on the screen. This is a little embarrassing, but I actually didn't know what Madkhaliism was up until earlier this year. I think, right?
Madkhali,
There's a
what's that?
comment, huh?
What's Madkhali?
Oh, nice. So you didn't know either. I don't think it was that big of a deal because I learned about it this year and I've been obsessed with Islamic history for the past 20 years. It's basically when you're not allowed to go against what the leader of the country, it's an Islamic concept, go against what the leader of an Islamic country says. So there are a lot of madkhali, not a lot, but they're mainly used in the context of Saudi Arabia. Anything Mohammed bin Salman, or technically Salman, King Salman does, criticizing it or protesting against it, madkhalis look down upon that and they say you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, there's one guy, he said something. I feel like this comes under that. He says, protesting has never ended well for us. Look at the Arab Spring. Muslim populations should never protest. That's technically a madkhali position to hold, no?
Yeah,
By
also
the way,
this guy,
also
he's
haram.
saying, yeah, that's something I've heard the idea. I didn't know that it was like a movement. I know that within Wahhabi circles, there's the idea that when Hussein ibn Ali revolted against Yazid, that was wrong because Yazid was the caliph. So I have heard this idea before, but I didn't know that it was like a movement and the whole thing. So it's
I
interesting.
just want to say, I hope I don't err on blasphemy because I think blasphemy is a pretty big deal. I think we established that last live stream. But I think that is an absolutely ridiculous position to hold.
Yeah, definitely.
Like me, I'm pretty sure you would throw this label at me. I'm quite an idealistic person when it comes to politics. I've got a weird mix of realism and idealism, but that is a level of idealism which, I'm sorry, it reflects negatively on your intelligence. Like the only context in which that would work is if you have basically the perfect governance.
Yeah, exactly.
Model, which doesn't exist, with all due respect.
And to be honest, if you are not supposed to protest, if you're not supposed to go against the leader of your country or your state, then the Prophet was, na'uzubillah, wrong to, go against his
There you
people's
go.
system.
There you
So
go.
that
Talk
sort
to
of
them, Syawish.
invalidates
Come on, talk to them.
all of Islam. It's a
Exactly.
ridiculous position. It's a bootlicking position. It's like when you
Exactly.
praise capitalism even though you don't have any money.
That wasn't nice. That was disrespectful.
I know.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what I do to capitalism. Do you guys want to meet Greyjoy? Because he's here now.
Oh, screw Greyjoy, man.
Dude, how dare you? How dare you
paying
disrespect my
rent
boy
yet?
like this? Yes, in his cuteness. Oh my god, he's my cutest little boy. He's my goodest boy, isn't he? He's my goodest boy.
Syawish, don't do the voice. Come
He's
on,
my
man.
goodest
We're
boy.
live.
He's my goodest. Like how cute he
Syawish,
is.
don't do that cute voice. We're live. Come
He's
on,
my
man.
goodest boy. Oh my god, he's my goodest boy. Your Tariq is wrong. Yep, I know, boy. He's the bestest boy in the world. And you're just jealous of how cute and cuddly he is.
Syawish, don't do that stuff on camera, man. What's wrong with you? Anyway, so Nick93, I think he had some banging questions last time too. Bangladesh students took down Hasina, who was in power for 15 years, in a couple weeks. That's not exactly fair, but we'll break that down. The youth of Pakistan needs to do something similar. Trust me, they didn't do it in a couple of weeks. When things happen, like in history, you look at those like big boom events. World War I apparently happened because Gavrilo Princip assassinated the Archduke of Austria. That's not why World War I happened, dude. World War I happened from factors starting after Napoleon in 1814. It took 100 years, and then you have like a little spark that makes it come to the surface. But no, that didn't happen over a couple of weeks. We talking the thing that they were arguing against was instituted in 1971. What couple of weeks? That's 53 years. That quota system. That's not how things work. Youth of Pakistan needs to do something similar. But replace it with what? What, just
that's the real question.
Break Imran Khan out of prison?
That's the real question. It's always, what do you replace it with? We see Star Wars and we see the rebellion overthrowing the empire, but what does it do after that? We see Napoleon, we see the French Revolution destroying the monarchy. What do they do after that? That's the real question, and that's where I'm going to be very cynical.
Go on.
But that's where our part of the world is hella stupid.
Whoa.
They're not smart enough to build a stable form of government. I'm not going to say smart enough. I'm going to say educated enough. We don't know how to craft a government, because at the end of the day, we, like Tariq, we rely on a good person, not a good system. We rely on a good person to come on and do and solve all of our problems for us. We don't look to a government system. We don't say, oh, okay. Like, for example, even Indians did a better job than most of the Islamic world did. And the US, when the US was created, it was sort of a dictatorship of the founding fathers and the leading men at the time, sure. Yeah. But they crafted a system. They looked around the world, even to the UK, and they found, oh, okay, this is something that works. Let's bring this over to our country. And, you got to craft a system. You got to have all these people who are educated, who have traveled the world, and most importantly, who are well-intentioned. And that's something that our part of the world generally lacks.
Okay. So are you finished? I would highly recommend you to get everything off your chest, because I'm going to go on a run for like 10 minutes right now. You said I need to break a lot of things. Okay. You want to say anything else?
No, you go on. Then
okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I realized I really enjoy these live streams with you, because I just checked. We've been going on for an hour and it genuinely feels like about 15 minutes. Number two, we have to distinguish something. Pakistan is weird. Okay. Weird. Let's flip it with another nicer word, unique. Pakistan's situation is very unique. When it comes to providing an alternative system of governance, it's not very fair to apply Pakistan's model with other people, because in my humble opinion, and I know a lot of Pakistanis are not going to appreciate this, Pakistan has not solved the number one issue of a country, which, and I'm amazed that it still exists by this point. 70, holy crap, it's going on 80 years, close to 80 years, getting to the stage. without having figured out an existential issue, which is मेरी identity क्या है? What is my identity? Multilingual, yeah? What is my identity? So we can talk about that in a second, but I've got a lot of other points I want to go through, yeah? Pakistan is a crazy, crazy model, yeah? It hasn't figured out its identity. So figuring out a system of governance that works for it, dude, you haven't learned how to crawl and you're talking about running at full speed. Figure out who you are first. We can talk about that in a second. Now, what else did you say?
You didn't write it down.
I should have written it down because I had so many different points. Oh man. Wait, what else did you say? Just jog my memory, please, real quick.
My point was that.
Oh yeah. No, I just basically wanted to talk about how cynical and unnecessarily pessimistic you're being. And very respectfully, Syawish, you know I got a lot of love for you, but I'm gonna say this to you. What you're saying, you're damning criticism of the Islamic world, modern political history, was very narrow-minded, my brother, if I may say so. And let me break down why, okay? Because the success of a country in any realm, but specifically within the realm of political stability, right, comes down to multiple factors, okay? And it happens over a long enough period. For you to sit there, and this is very surprising for you to say specifically, considering I know that the anti-colonial sentiment is very strong normally within your arguments. For you to sit there and say, no, but Muslims in the modern period have been terrible at creating a stable political system. First of all, I don't think that's completely fair. It's largely fair, yeah, because the facts speak for themselves, but it's not by no means 100%. There are loads of examples of political stability that we can talk about in a sec, and I will give you Ataturk. Okay, he made a humongous blunder by completely relegating Islam to the fringes of society. But apart from that, I'm going to be honest with you, I think the big part of the system he created, like, good job, man. Good job. You made a humongous blunder. You can't make a bigger blunder in an Islamic society than to relegate Islam to the realm of obscurity. But it's one. Like, statistically, it's one. It's a really, really big one, but it's one. Just reform that, and you got a decent system on your hand. Dude, things work dynamically, right? Most of these Muslim countries, they get their independence in the middle of the 20th century. They're already dealing with a whole bunch of things. Number one, they're dealing with a Eurocentric, let's just class America as part of Europe for a second, because it is just an extension of Europe, a Eurocentric model of what modernity is, of what governance is, of what progress, for God's sake, progress is. So they've got to grapple with that, firstly. Secondly, they've got to grapple with the very real. The example I just gave you was a psychological, philosophical battle. Then they've got a very real battle in the shape of their material resources, in some cases, like India, being looted. Yeah? Not being taken or whatever, being looted, right? And then you have things like I'm not a big fan of current affairs terminology, but let's just, for the sake of simplicity, use them. Neo-imperialism, in the shape of most Middle Eastern countries, they gained complete sovereignty over their oil, right, over their natural resources, specifically oil, by the mid-1970s. So for the first 20 years, the most profitable resource they have at their disposal is not even fully theirs, right? So they've got a whole and then on top of that, Syawish, they've got to deal with a political system inherited, not a political system, they've got to deal with national lines, nation states that have been created for them by people that, as we mentioned about 30 minutes ago, that don't understand their culture, their region. So they've essentially drawn lines in the sand, or whatever the saying is, with Sykes-Picot and whatnot. So you've got to grapple with all of these different things. So this is not to say that we should let leaders in the Middle East, in the Islamic world, off the hook, but like take these things into account before you make big statements like, I'm cynical about them, they're always going to be failures. No, there's reasons. You can always break things down. This is why I like logic. You can always break things down. And I think it should be a little bit fairer, man. I think it should be a little bit fairer. Because I get that you have a very vested interest in the Islamic world doing well, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, yeah, just see it with a slightly less emotional lens.
That's not what I meant, though.
Go on.
What I meant was that, like, the reason that I believe that we have a problem with making a system of governance, is because, generally speaking, our part of the world doesn't believe in systems. It believes in people. When you look at our version of history, we always talk about like this great man history, right? We talk about Salahuddin Ayyubi. We talk about all these. We never talk about the Ayyubid Caliphate. Until I started reading history, not Ayyubid Caliphate, sorry, Ayyubid Sultanate. Before I started reading history, I didn't even know that Salahuddin Ayyubi was actually a sultan. I always thought he was maybe a general or something. We don't know about systems. We don't talk about how the Rashidun Caliphate governed itself. We only talk about, oh, Umar was a very good man and he used to distribute things and this and this and that, but we don't talk about systems in general. Same thing.
Popular history, Syawish. Just one quick clarification. Sorry. I'm going to let you continue. Are you talking about the modern period, or are you talking about Islamic history since 1400 years?
Modern people. I'm talking about modern people.
Okay, good.
I'm not generalizing like all 1400 years. I'm just saying that today people are talking more reliant on somebody coming. That this has been my point, that some good person coming to power and saving us. Not about how, like, for example, the U.S. When they founded the U.S., they talked about how a bad person can come to power and how we have to put checks and balances to prevent that. Failed, sure, but they had that in mind. We don't really have that kind of thing. In Pakistan, in most of the Islamic world, we talk about great men. We don't talk about great systems. We don't talk about, like, for example, when in the West they were building countries, they were talking about democracies. They were talking about how the Roman Republic worked and how other places, republics, and these systems work. We don't talk about systems. Similarly, and I'm sure that a lot of people from the Islamic world would agree with this, we in democracies, we vote for people who, like, come in a big car, and we still have that sort of a serfdom mindset, a medieval mindset, that the politicians, they're supposed to be these rich people, and all these things. A humble man standing up and asking for your votes, a grassroots campaign, is not exactly possible in most of our countries. So that's what I'm saying, that we believe not in systems but in people. We believe in a way, we believe in the divine right of kings, in a way. So that's what I'm saying, that it's not systems. People don't even think about systems, that systems need to be built. They rather rely on people, like caliphate. Oh, a caliphate needs to be built. What is a caliphate if the caliph is a bad man? It's just a dictatorship.
If it has a full system, exactly. I would just say in that regard, you hit the nail on the head. My only point is just to mitigate your cynicism just a little bit, not a lot, because a lot of, like I just said, a lot of your points are very valid. You're right. In our part of the world, a lot more of the focus, at least in my lifetime, my father's lifetime, has been on great, quote unquote, great men. But dude, that's not always been the case. All you need to do, you don't even need to go back 800 years, 900 years. It's fine. Just go back to the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, 1930s. There was a lot of forceful intellectual activity on trying to figure out good systems, right? And whether they worked out or they didn't, the point is there was a lot of focus on them. Baathism, Islamism, nationalism, Arab socialism, Pan-Arabism, all of these different ideas. In the right now, and especially on a societal level, I would give you that, especially because I try to learn Pakhto, my mother tongue, I've downloaded a bunch of books from Afghanistan's curriculum, not the recent one, but like the previous one from like 10 years ago. And there, when you're reading the history, a lot of the history lessons, most of them, to be honest, are just about great figures.
Yeah, exactly. People will talk about Khalid ibn al-Walid. People will talk about conquests, right? Oh, we conquered this or we ruled this. What exactly? Like that's the problem with the whole system. We need to not talk about conquest, but rather rule. We need to talk about how people were governed, not how they were conquered. Even Aurangzeb Alamgir himself said that God has given a sword in the hands of barbarians, oftentimes, and unleashed them on the world. Anybody can conquer. It's rule. That's the difficult part, and that's what we need to like talk more about. uh, like Omar ibn al-Khattab, we talk about how he was in Medina, he was helping people and all that, but how much power did he have to influence policy in Syria
Yeah.
or
No,
in
no, no.
Egypt? you know
Excellent. Excellent.
and that's
I would fully throw my weight of support behind you
that's the
saying that.
point.
Yeah.
There's something that I let's move on
Got
from this
another
question.
paid question. You want to take that one?
Sorry. Yeah, this is that as a Bengal, she even no one expected it to overthrow Hasina. They wanted to change at first, and then it escalated. That's right. Um, the
Wait, you're
Beng-
Bengali with a name like Nick? What kind of
no,
Bengali
it's
are
probably just like an online name.
you?
What's interesting about Bengal is
Unexpected to
is
overthrow.
that it's a nation state. It's a state of a nation.
Yeah,
Pakistan is not a nation state.
yeah,
In
yeah.
Pakistan, when the military attacks the Baloch, for
Mm,
example, the Baloch look at it not as an attack by an elite class. They look at it as an attack by Punjabis. And recently, Baloch separatists have been killing Punjabis in
mm,
Balochistan. Like as a Punjabi, you cannot go to Balochistan anymore. And so that's the thing that when if things get bad, we should be able to blame someone at the top. Rather, we blame each other, and
mhm.
that's a very big. Like Pakistan is a very different case. Like this guy was talking about how why doesn't Pakistan's youth revolt and create that, but that's a completely different system. That's a completely different structure. Pakistan has an identity crisis, as you talked about. The Pakistan has never been able to work out its identity, which is something that I 100% agree with. So yeah, that's sort of the thing with Pakistan. It has many different problems.
But wait, hold on. You didn't answer this poor guy.
That's what I'm saying. That his first question
Yeah.
was why doesn't Pakistan's youth does something
Oh.
something like that, protest and stuff. That's what
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
saying, that
sorry, sorry.
this
Yeah, there
is
is no question.
Pakistan is a very
Yeah.
different structure.
Okay.
So do you see any other question you want to take? There are quite a few questions, but we were sort of spending so much time on a couple of questions that were just.
That's great, man. This is what it's supposed to be like. This is why I enjoy these live streams. Um, I don't want to answer questions all the time, like rigidly. I like your questions. Don't worry. Um,
This is one that I would like to say. Do you guys have any opinion that people think you
I
hold,
was
but
hoping
actually
you would
not?
skip this one because, yeah.
I mean, in my case, I'll just answer for myself. The opinion that people think I hold is that people think that I'm against hadiths. People think that I'm against all Islamic sources. I'm really not. Um, and that's pretty much the opinion. But a lot of people are just sort of always willing to take things the wrong way, um, and just look at things from a religious perspective. Like recently, I've made a video about Ibn Ishaq and Saint Bede, and there are people who are commenting on it and saying, "Oh, why did you cherry pick Ibn Ishaq?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not talking about the Iqra narrative in general. I'm just talking about Ibn Ishaq's version of it." And that's it says that in the title that Ibn Ishaq. I didn't say Islamic tradition, but people are stupid, to be honest. I'm very cynical these days, so sorry about that.
God damn. Well, not all people are stupid. There's loads of smart ones, man. Especially in this live stream. Do you guys have any opinions that people think you guys hold? Oh, okay. See, the reverse of this would be impossible for me to answer without getting demonetized. But this I could answer. I think people think, in general,
Mhm.
it's very natural. Human beings like to classify, right? We like to categorize things. We like to place things in boxes and whatnot, and it's fine. It's annoying, but it's very natural. I believe it's a function of some form of very primitive intelligence, which is why it's natural because it enhances our chances of survival. But I think just naturally having an Islamic history channel, I don't know, I guess with my background a little bit, people just think I see everything through the Islamic lens, if that makes any sense. But I have been very profoundly influenced by Western civilization, and I am not embarrassed to say that, even in the slightest. A lot of things, maybe not the values that I hold, but the way that I think about things. That's a good way of putting it. The mechanism by which I arrive at a conclusion, I think that's very. I think I've been very Westernized in that regard. The values that I hold, maybe not so much, but the mechanism. That's a good way of putting it. The mechanism by which I arrive at conclusions, just being in a Western education, the British education system, reading Western sources, reading Western historical methodology, has brought me, even reading a lot of Western philosophy a few years ago and whatnot, has brought me to that point. But yeah, I think people will be surprised by how Westernized my thinking is. And the reason why I think people don't think that is because it's so interesting. The end point, so the values that I hold, are probably not that Westernized in most cases, but the process by which I get there is pretty Westernized. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say that your values are pretty Western as well, but like
Brother,
right-wing
why?
Western,
How?
like you're red-pilled and all that stuff. Especially after the last live stream, a lot of people have been talking about how you're red-pilled.
See? Remember, Syawish, remember when I said that categorizing people is a form of very primal, primitive intelligence that doesn't reflect very positively on you? Why are you just throwing that category on me? Red pill, what's red pill?
I'm not.
Red pill, black pill.
I'm just
blue
saying
pill,
what people.
pill.
I'm just saying what people were
Those,
saying.
I don't have those values as a result of Western cultural phenomena. It's as a result of, number one, my friends laugh at me when I say this, but I'm going to say this. Number one, it's common sense. Okay, I have eyes and I have a brain. I look at phenomena and I observe it first, and then I analyze it, and then boom, step three, conclusion. Okay,
You're wrong.
I don't need to be on a Reddit forum to figure out, oh, these are my views,
Look at
or
this boy.
oh, there's a bold, charismatic guy who knows very nice big words like perspicacious, and he's going to change my mind. Brother, get out of here. What the hell?
No.
Anyway,
no. What? Like, for example, what?
you know those views that you call a red pill, yeah? You know, if you go to like Afghanistan, or if you go to Pakistan, forget Afghanistan. If you go to Pakistan, I'm pretty sure most people in Pakistan would have a high level of correlation with the views espoused by red pills. So, are you saying those Pakistanis got those views because of, I don't know, Reddit forums?
I didn't say any of that.
Why are you coming for me, bro?
I'm just saying that people said that. And like, for example, your idea of the white replacement theory, right?
I use my brain. What is this red pill crap to do with it? Huh?
I didn't say you were red pill. I'm just saying that people were using that.
If you're not having kids that are enough kids that will replace you, you will get replaced by people who have more kids than you and who immigrate to your place. You don't need to be a far right red pill on Reddit forums, a certain what's it called, like a certain Twitter sphere plugged into that. I'm not even on Twitter. Okay, all you need to do is use basic maths, basic arithmetic. Okay, these people are having less than 2 kids on average, but there's an influx of these immigrants, and they are having way more than 2 kids. Oh, the maths kind of adds up. All right, it might take 200 years. Yeah, it might take 700 years. You will get replaced, and it's basic arithmetic. It's not plugged into any far right or any political ideology. It's basic arithmetic. That's all it is. Yeah, I'm not coming at it from I want to support Tommy Robinson now, or blah blah blah. All of this. It's basic arithmetic, my G. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Also, can I just defend you for a second? Because whatever. Don't put this up on the screen. But somebody said, "Syawish, please stop talking. I get secondhand embarrassment when you open your mouth." I'll be honest. There's some points Syawish makes that I'm very skeptical of. But especially today and in general, Syawish makes loads of great points. What are you talking about?
Yeah, people just don't like views that are different than them.
Exactly, yeah. Nah, man. I hope you don't take that to heart.
No, of course I don't. I mean, I get a lot of comments like that. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, to be honest, a lot of people talk for the sake of talking. And so you cannot like look at. I often have this complaint with people on Twitter. Somebody with like 20 followers says something, and people, quote tweet it, and start fighting over it. I'm like, it's a nobody. It's not like a public opinion. It's not like a wide opinion. Somebody says something, it's just for themselves. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. No, that's true. I just wanted to back my boy. Okay. Anything else? These guys are just arguing between themselves. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. They're like talking about Yazid now.
See, I wish with a nose job would be a giga chat. That's hilarious.
Dude, that's so racist.
Why?
Because it's my nose.
Yeah, your nose is a bit mad. I'm not gonna lie, but it's fine. It's fine. It's part of life. I got loads of weird features too, but
Dude,
your nose is a bit mad.
It's the nose of my people.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that your people's noses are a bit mad. Like Iranians, an Iranian can't sit there and go,
That's
"Yeah,
racist."
No, it's an observation of.
And what does mad mean? And what does mad mean?
Like, it deviates from the norm,
What is the norm? You have a conception of normal. It's this, like, imagine if I said the same with skin color.
BS with me, bro. I have this conversation with Iranians all the time. An Iranian's nose is a bit mad. And for the record, Iranians themselves know this because they have the highest rate of plastic surgery on the planet, more so than America. So they obviously want to change their own nose too. So we all know that it's bad, but Tariq is the bad guy because he points this out now, yeah? I'm racist about what we're talking about.
The thing
Afghans also tend to have, not on the same level or proportion as Iranians, but Afghans have some crazy noses too. And I'll be the first to admit that. Thankfully, I missed that curse, but I know loads of Afghans with crazy...
That's such a problematic view. The saying that certain features are normal and everything that doesn't look like it is not normal. That is so... Ugh.
What? No, it's not a big deal though. Like if you're not normal, that's
it's a nose.
Fine.
It's a
I'm
nose.
not normal. No, I take pride in not being normal. Okay, it's good that you're not normal. You don't have to get offended.
You keep saying the word normal and not normal.
Yeah,
what is a normal nose? As long as your nose helps you breathe, as long as it's fine. It doesn't have any. What does it mean to humans? Humans come in all shapes and forms.
I know you make a value judgment when you see. If I right now, I got a very nice nose. I'll be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. I got loads of other.
What does nice mean?
Normal, petite, symmetrical.
Use a term like that. Maybe symmetrical. Maybe say your nose is narrow. Whatever. What does nice mean?
Listen, brother. Listen. If I had a nose, that started here and it went all the way here and came here, would you look at me and say that nose is fine?
Yeah, it's a nose. As long as it helps you breathe, it's fine.
No, of course, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to go, oh, I don't want to be your friend anymore because you got a crazy nose, but it's not, no, it's not. It's not. What are you talking about?
Wow, how? Exactly
how? Value judgments. What are you talking about?
How? A nose is a nose. A face is a face.
Some noses are nicer than other noses. 100%.
That's racist.
No, it's not. It's a basic value judgment based of intelligence and preference. And I think most people prefer nice, symmetrical noses. And the Iranians, the fact that they have so much flipping plastic surgery, that is the biggest evidence for that. Because they themselves don't want those noses. So why don't they just keep those noses? Why are they getting plastic surgery?
That's their problem.
Exactly.
That's their problem.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean that their noses are not normal.
Why do you think they're getting plastic surgery? Because they
just want to change it. It's their problem.
Because they say it's not normal.
It's a sense of standards that has been inducted inside us. We think
Yeah,
that this
good.
is a
Like
pretty.
everything, by the way. Like everything. The same
It doesn't
way
mean
when
that
I
it's
see a
good.
person who doesn't have anything going on for them, is like 30 years old, doesn't have a job, doesn't have a way of making money, doesn't have any responsibilities, I make a value judgment because of things that have been enforced upon me through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution.
It doesn't mean
Basically,
that
like
it doesn't mean
everything.
that that's good.
It doesn't matter if it's good or not. It is what it is. What is good? What's good? We're talking about like
Dude, for
neurochemistry.
hundreds of thousands of years, we
Yes.
have hunted and we have gathered. For hundreds of thousands of years, we have killed people over tiny little insults to us. But we're not those people anymore. We live in civilized world. We have to look upon ourselves and see if this works. And it doesn't work when you keep
Yeah, but the nose
bullying
thing is
someone.
different. No, no, no. But don't do that. Don't paint the whole flippant story. Of course, we used to bury daughters alive because
Exactly.
we valued having sons more than daughters. I think we can all agree that was not a very smart thing to do. It was a dumb thing to
Neither
do.
is this nose
Okay?
thing.
No, it's not, man. The nose is not the same thing as burying your flippant daughter, man. Come on, Syawish.
I'm not saying that it's the same thing, but I'm
It's not
saying
even
that it's a
close. It's in
similar
two
thing. It's
different
based
realms.
on values. It's
Yeah.
based on arbitrary values. I'm not in Bremen. I just used to live there and I love the town. So that's why I have a thing about that. But I'm not in Bremen.
Okay. Okay.
Somebody asked. So that's what I'm saying. The beauty standards, they're based on arbitrary things and they change from time to time. If you look at the statue of David, he has a tiny little pee because apparently that was the beauty standard at the time. It's not
Okay,
anymore.
let's not get into that because whatever. I don't want it to get explicit and whatnot. Um, okay, yeah. See, look, there's a guy. Call me Papa. He goes, Tariq, feminine nose is not attractive on a male. I've heard people say that. I've heard people say that like a big nose on a man gives him character, etc. Very fair. I ain't got a problem with that. Yeah, but just
What's
don't,
character?
huh?
What's
Like
character?
you feel like there's more to them
It's
as a
such a
result of their
such
nose.
a it's such a if you look at it from like a even a religious point of view, you're
Yeah.
saying that God made you and he made a mistake with your nose or something. Your nose is not pretty. It's like it's
Oh,
ridiculous. I think in a way you're insulting God himself.
Syawish, you're going over the top, my G. This
Dude,
it's not a crazy big deal, man. There are people. It's not a make or break, Like
no, but I'm just saying
with
that
the
you should not be bullying
fine.
people
But just
over their looks.
allow me to have the freedom to make that value judgment based on my preferences.
You
Why are you
shouldn't.
trying to criminalize me or whatever?
Because it's criminal, because it's bad. You're the reason that
Oh, man.
people grow up with inferiority complex and they get plastic surgeries.
You're talking like this is coming from a place of experience. Like, were you teased when you were
It
younger?
doesn't matter. I'm not talking about my personal experience. I'm just talking about in general.
It's fine, man. It's not a big deal. You got a big nose. We'll move on. You got loads of other nice features. Your nose is crazy, but it's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No body shaming is a problem in society. Um, evolution in Islam, we know man comes from natural processes rather than God. How do you reconcile this? Easy.
Dude,
God
dude, this
created
is a weird take. Sorry. Um this guy is saying that you're definitely against Islam. Are you?
I don't think so. Why?
Yeah, this is the first time somebody's calling you against Islam.
Well,
Usually people call me that.
would you like to elaborate?
No, I mean, this is the first time somebody's saying that you're anti-Islam. Usually I'm the one that gets that.
Yeah. Did he say anything else?
Oh, are there non-Islamic historical shows like Europe has shows based on all parts of their history? Well, there's some stuff.
Especially more recently.
There's like with Turkish shows, and there's I guess a Kurdish this show about Salahuddin as well. There's other stuff as well, but yeah, none of them are like accurate history. But then again, I don't expect a movie or a TV show to be accurate history. It's it's a movie or it's a TV show. It's supposed to be about a story. But yeah, there are shows. I've had like in my mind, I've had the idea for a show based on Aurangzeb, which is something that I would really, I don't know if there's like possibility, but I would really like to get into that, to sort of look at his character and see exactly what kind of person he was. See, there are some people in the comment who are already pointing out shows about Islamic history.
Yeah, I would say I would like to see way more though. I would like to see way more, especially because the Islamic world has such a rich history and there's so much potential there for historical dramas.
Mhm.
There are things like Ertugrul, obviously, Osman, things like that. But I would love to see way more, man. I'd love to see
Yeah,
things on Al
definitely.
Andalus. I'd love to see things on 16th century Ottomans as well.
Mhm.
Forget the 12th and the 13th century. Um, I'd like to see things on Timur, on the Timurids. I'd love to see on the Timurid Renaissance.
You know, I was working with a German company
Hmm.
that pitched a show based on Ibn Khaldun to Netflix. And the thing was that it was going to begin with the meeting of Timur and Ibn Khaldun, but unfortunately Netflix didn't pick it up, which is weird because Netflix picks up everything, but they didn't pick it up. But yeah, it was an idea. It was something that I think would have been very good, but I know that people, not a lot of people would have liked that because it was more of a like an art thingy than like sort of popular show. But it would have been very good to see because even in my video on Timur, I've talked about how much I would like to see a movie or something based on their meeting, because their meeting was very, very fascinating. It was amazing. You know, you have this guy who writes about history and economy and society, and then you have this guy who has destroyed societies, who has destroyed empires, and then they're meeting here and they're talking about things. It was very fascinating, but unfortunately, the show wasn't picked up.
Yeah. You know what? This guy, Abdul Kahar, he just said something. What about a Baybars movie? That would be good too, but it gave me something to think about. There's so many interesting things in Islamic history. You have them in Europe too, but they're a little bit more rigid with these kind of things, like movement of people. I would love to
Mhm.
see that. Ertugrul, I mean, very small amount because the migration from Central Asia. I guess I kind of refer to it a little. I haven't watched the whole show. I've just watched little bits and pieces here and there. But Baybars, for example, he wasn't Circassian. He was a
Circassian,
Turk.
yeah.
No, he wasn't Circassian. No.
Really?
He was a Turk. Yeah. I think he was Kipchak. Yeah, I think he was Kipchak, or Cumin, one of the two. But he was definitely a Turk. Think about it, dude. You are born in a place near Kazakhstan, I think it was, and then you end up becoming the leader of Egypt. And this was so normal. And you do it through the process of something called slave soldiers. A slave soldier ends up becoming a king. That's thousands of miles away from where he was born, his native homeland. You look completely different
Hmm.
physiologically
Yeah.
from people
uh,
around you.
a
That's so.
movie like a movie or a TV show based on these elements would be like I talked about it in a video about Assassin's Creed Mirage. That Assassin's Creed Mirage is based during the Golden Age, 861 in Baghdad, and that was one of the most fascinating time periods in Islamic history. There was a slave revolt that was coming 20 years. There was like economic tensions. There were like tensions between groups. There were Turks here, Arabs and Persians and all that. And in the game, they didn't use any of that. So that's what I'm saying. That this would be like even Babers would have this amazing story with these slave soldiers living in their own society, and you have tensions brewing between them and the
Yeah.
general public. And this is something that in Western storytelling we see more. For example, in the second season of The House of the Dragon, we're seeing that because the elite class, the dynasty that rules Westeros, is going to war with itself. The common folk, the small folk, they are actually like agitated. They're thinking, oh, why is this happening? Why are they fighting? And we're being stuck. We're stuck in this whole thing. And that's something that these kinds of discussion is something that really fascinates me, especially at the perspective of the general people and the study of characters. Like,
Mm.
why does the figure do something? You know, it's like that. There's uh, if anybody is interested in historical shows, there's one called Black Sails that I think everybody should watch.
Isn't that an anime or not?
No, it's TV show. It's 4 seasons. It's about this guy who wants to be a pirate king because he knows that civilization is coming for them, that at some point Spain and England are going to destroy them, and he wants to become a king. And for that, he does all these evil things. In a way, in his mind, he's justifying it. And that's something that amazing. It's an amazing show in that way. I love studies like these, like what makes a character tick, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you
Imagine a
support
show
Israel?
about. I'll get to this in a second. Imagine a show about the Zand Revolt.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been like, even in Assassin's Creed, I talked about in the video that it would have been amazing if you were an assassin and you were fighting for the rebels, the slaves, and the evil side was trying to press you and destroy you. It would have made amazing TV or amazing video
This
game.
coming up. What do you mean? Why do I support Israel?
Do you support Israel? Somebody's asking.
No, they don't. They didn't ask that. They made it as a statement.
Yeah, why do you have you said anything like that?
No, not at all. Why? Why would you assume that I support Israel? That's a statement to make. Anyway,
a show about Nader Shah would be interesting.
That would be phenomenal, man.
The book Nader Shah by Michael Axworthy.
Yeah.
Axworth.
Yeah.
That's a very good book, and it's in a way it's kind of like a TV show. It begins with his sack of Delhi. It's if a show was based on that book alone, it would be very interesting.
Yo, listen. Can I quickly give a shout out? Sorry, I have a friend that wrote a book about Nader Shah. Mm-hmm. One sec, I want to give him a shout out. He actually helped me write the script.
You made a video on Nader Shah?
Yeah, man.
Dude, why do you keep stealing my ideas? That's a book that I've been reading for like 3 years now.
Wait, what's his name? I don't even know my friend. I do know his name. Okay, guys.
You don't have any friends.
I don't have any friends. That's true.
Dude, don't agree with it.
Thingy. Put this up. Hopefully, get some like 1 or 2 sales or something. That would make me happy. Okay, his name. One second. Is Muhammad Amir Hakimi Parsa. Brother, why you got such a long name? And what's his book?
So should we wrap up this stream because I have somewhere to go?
Yes. Yeah. Why is this taking me so long? Yeah. Let me just type this in. But do you need to go now?
No, but
Okay.
Please continue with only Tariq.
What? This guy likes me, huh? Tariq, we can be your friends.
Oh, sad.
No, it's not sad.
Dude, somebody said that we only wanted to watch Tariq anyway. Then why aren't you on Tariq's channel?
Come on.
I like Ahmad Al-Jalad. I think he's got some, his books. I've been meaning to read his book on inscriptions, pre-Islamic inscriptions in Arabic, and they're sort of his whole body of works is very interesting.
I don't have much of a statement to make about him.
You don't really know that much about, I guess. You don't focus on early Islamic history, right?
Yeah, not that much. Mm-hmm. Why don't you do all these streams on Hikmah's channel? Because Syawish is actually a bit of a bully behind the scenes, and he tells me all the time because he's got more subscribers, it has to go on his channel. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Tariq is a bit of a shrewd politician behind the scenes. He does this because he thinks that this way he can get a couple of subscribers from my channel. He's very, very tactical in these kinds of things. So that's the reason that he agrees to it.
Also, I just want to don't put this up on the screen because I don't like giving the limelight to annoying people. But this Chris Fisher guy, my brother.
I want to put it on the screen because it's very
No, I feel bad for him. He seems so stuck on that point I made about the nose, and he's taking it very, very seriously. Tarek, I remember you saying earlier in the show you had great humility. Then you speak of your great nose and other people's crap nose. Doesn't look like you see yourself as you are. Brother, chill out. I'm just joking. It's fine if you got a big, ugly nose. It adds to your character, I guess. What?
He's a bully. He's a bully about people's looks.
No, I just find it funny that
he's
this
racist. He is incredibly racist.
This is such a big deal to him because scrolling up, he also made another comment about how can he basically called me pro-Israeli as a result. He's not Islamic, calling out people's features based on visual looks! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! Chris Fisher, brother, relax. It's not that big of a deal. If you got an ugly nose.
Exactly what I'm saying. That this is about wrong.
Control. Chris, listen. Let me talk to Chris for a second. Chris, it's not in your control, my guy, what kind of a nose you were born with. If you got an ugly nose, that's fine. It's a part of life.
See, he keeps calling the nose that God gave someone. You know, God says Ahsani Takwim, that I made mankind in the most beautiful image. But we as mankind, even God says that this is, I made humanity in the most beautiful image. But no, a mankind has to go and say, oh, this is an ugly nose. Not that it's a different nose, it's a different from my nose. No, he's gonna say this is an ugly nose because it's different from my nose. It's the same with skin color. It's like, you say,
no, it's not. Don't you dare. When I say, listen to me, okay, I can't believe we're dragging this out this much. I don't make a judgment on your character based on your nose. Your nose would have to be so messed up for me to go, you know what? I don't want to interact with this person based off their nose. As a matter of fact, in 3 decades of life on this planet, I haven't encountered one person whose nose was that bad where I met them and I go, you know what? I'm going to turn this way because I don't want to interact with your ugly nose. And I've seen ugly nose, but they're not that ugly.
See, you keep calling them ugly. That's the goddamn problem.
It's not that big of a deal. If you got an ugly nose, it's fine. For homeboy over here, Chris Fisher, to sit there and go, oh, but Tariq, it's immoral for you to make these. Brother, calm down.
It is immoral.
And then now somebody's saying, this is hilarious. This is why I love the internet. Clearly, he is a nose fetishist or whatever. I don't care that much, man. Really.
It's rude. No, the thing is, it's not about bullying, but it's about how integrated it is in our society and how easy it is for us to say that this person is weird looking just because he doesn't look like us. So that's what I'm saying. This is it's not seen as a big deal,
Bro,
even
I have friends that have messed up noses. Yeah.
God damn it! That's what racists say. Oh, I'm not racist. I've got black friends. It's God damn.
No,
amazing.
How? It's not the same thing. Because with my friend that has a messed up nose, it's not a feature in our relationship.
Yeah, but you still think his nose is messed up. That's what I'm saying.
But it is.
Imagine if you think. Imagine if you
say it's not messed up. It is a messed up nose.
Imagine if you call a skin color normal and every other skin color ugly.
You need to see my friend's nose.
God damn! What is wrong with you?
Chris Fisher, it's okay, man. If you got a bad nose,
dude, stop. Okay, don't do that.
It's not a big deal, man.
Dude, he's taking this serious. So yeah.
Don't take it serious, for the love of God.
Dude, everybody has things that they take more seriously than anything else, and it's wrong.
Oh, brother, for you to make a nose the hill you're willing to die on, it's a little bit crazy, brother. No,
you're making it the hill that you're willing to die on because you're wrong in this case.
I know, for the record, most of what I'm doing right now is I'm just prolonging the banter because I'm not taking this very seriously. This is not a big deal. It's fine, guys. This guy and you a little bit, you're getting worked up about this. I don't care about noses. Why are we talking about noses for 15 minutes? This is hilarious.
Okay, sorry about the commentary on noses.
Damn. So my nose comment annoyed how many people? What's wrong with people?
It did, because it's not people who are wrong, it's you who's wrong.
No, Syawish. This is kind of crazy. Anyway, let's talk about something a little bit more positive. Samir Jafar, guys, you should do a meet and greet. We should figure that out.
Oh yeah, we should. Where do you live again? We can do a meet and greet.
Where would we do a meet and greet?
New York.
New York. Do you have a lot of fans there?
No, but it just seems like the place for meet and greet.
I have a lot of fans in London, New York, and LA, and then there was one big Indian city. I don't think it was Delhi. Bengaluru, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Bangalore. In the future. But yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, with all our talks about like noses, it's starting to sound like we're anti-Jewish or something. You know,
Dude,
people
what's
are
wrong?
always
Don't put things like that out into the ether. Nobody said that. What's wrong with you, guys?
I'm just trying to.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anything.
Do you guys have Discord server? I had a Discord server, but it's been dismantled. Tariq still has, but I don't think that he uses it very much. I mean, I don't know.
The thing is, I want to use it, but like I feel like Discord, the person who makes it, what can I do? I feel like it's dependent on the people, right? Like in the community for them to interact.
I had the same problem, but then
I have a popping Discord server. Yours is kind of popping, no?
Yeah, but then when Israel invaded Gaza, there was a lot of people who were sort of spreading fake news in it, and I got very angry at that. So I just decided to dismantle the whole thing.
Oh no way!
Yeah, it was just very, very bad, and it was just sort of they were spreading fake news. It wasn't just like opinions; it was like actively fake news. So I just decided to dismantle the whole thing. I mean, I'd always had it on mind that I want to dismantle it because there are always people who are sharing memes and stuff there, and I'm always thinking that if something happens, if Homeland Security shows up on my door someday, it's gonna be because of the server. So it's better to not have that.
Right, that makes sense.
It goes very quickly from like just discussing Islamic history to like defending things.
I see that. Tariq, talk about the UFC. I don't know what to say, really. One of my brothers has a fight in October.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Against whom?
It was a Brazilian with a really cool name, Victor Hugo.
Ooh. Ooh, nice.
Hugo? Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
Dude, I gotta look him up because Brazilians are always very good looking. Okay, this guy is not. Okay, no.
Okay, I don't even know what to make of that comment. Why is that the first place you would go to? And secondly, they're not always very good looking. Trust me, there's good looking and bad looking people everywhere. Hey, why are you making a value judgment on people's looks, huh?
Yeah, I was hoping you would move past that.
What happened there, huh?
I was hoping you would move past
Get
that.
out of here. I got some decent recommendations. Talk about do daily polls and do a debate at a dedicated time each week. Oh, mad. Tariq is already winning.
Dude, what is this guy's problem with me? Hamid Gulshair.
Yeah, Hamid Gulshair.
What is his problem with me?
No.
No, not just this. Like, he's been kind of a dick throughout the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what this guy's problem is with me.
Why? Did he say something rude?
I don't know. He's been constantly on me. Like, I usually ignore because he might just be trolling, but still.
Hey, Hamid.
Dickish.
Hamid, Syawish is a very nice guy.
What does this mean, looks max?
I have zero idea, man.
And there's all this Gen Z language that like mogs and poger. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Anybody else wanna? I'd love.
Dude, let's
Chris.
ignore that. Let's ignore that. Let's ignore that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like,
Anyway,
what does this mean?
is it? No, it's calling you gay.
Ah, okay, no, actually, no. The thing is, I am of the opinion that men should compliment each other, that we don't do it enough. It's not gay, it's just something that I believe that we should do each other, like have a positive interaction with each other. Like women, they often praise each other's looks. We don't do that as men enough. So I like to praise when I see a man that I personally, based on my subjective opinion, like I do praise them.
I like that, but I'm a little bit schizophrenic, I guess, with this. I like to vacillate between giving compliments to guys and then just putting them down. And then I like to hope that the frequency with which I do each balances each other out. But you
See,
can't just do
that's that's a little gay because gays tend to do that. They're kind of sassy. Um,
what?
yeah.
See, but this is the problem with like subjectivity, because you can just bend anything to anything. I
Hmm.
couldn't even wrap my head around somebody potentially saying that.
Okay.
Anyway, so looks max means doing things
Enthusi-
to maximize your look potential, i.e., increase attractiveness. So I do this.
No, you
Huh?
should, I guess, look, Max. I guess
I should do this.
I don't know. Increase attractiveness.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tarek is already winning the intellectual fights against Tarek. He has a fighter family. Brother, I don't understand what that means. Tarek against Tarek.
On Urdu literature. Have you read a lot of like literature from Afghanistan?
I wouldn't say a lot, but a little bit, yeah. In Pakhto specifically, yeah.
You're not really like a person who generally enjoys literature, right?
Oh no, I don't think that's fair. I am, man. I
No, I'm
am.
just asking. I'm not saying.
Yeah. No. I think no. I know, no. Don't worry. But no, I am. It's just unfortunately, in the last few years, I haven't had as much of an opportunity as I would like
Mm.
to do reading that isn't necessarily related to my YouTube channel per se.
Yeah.
But no, I do. My favorite novel is quite a classic literature, Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas. In fact, I quite like Dumas in general, Alexander
That's such
Dumas.
a white people answer. Why don't you have like a favorite
Oh,
novel from the Islamic world or something?
I haven't really read. What's a good novel from the Islamic world? Give me an example. The Count of Monte Cristo, by the way, is phenomenal. I've read it twice, cover to cover. It's like 700 pages. It is. I won't stand or tolerate any bad things being said about that
I
one. That book
haven't read it, so I can't really say anything.
is
But I don't
chef's.
read novels, to be honest. I'm in terms of like literature, I'm mostly into poetry. This time when I came back from Pakistan, I brought like 25 kilos of books about of Islam of Urdu poetry. There, I have some back there as well.
Yeah.
Actually, I really hope people can't see the liquor bottles. Can people see the liquor bottles?
I see bottles. I didn't know they were liquor until you said. No?
They're vodka bottles, actually, absolute vodka. It's not that I drink; it's just that my roommate had these bottles, and I really liked how they looked, so I kept them as a sort of thing. But yeah, I have some books about like poetry back here as well. Like you can probably see Kuliyat Sahir and all that. So yeah.
Crime and Punishment, Hamid. I have read that. That was decent.
You have?
Yeah, I'm not as big of a fan of Russian literature, I would say, as I say like 19th century French literature. Russian literature is very dense, and I don't want to say depressed. It is a little on the depressing side as well, but it's the denseness mainly, which kind of like I've started and stopped. Not Crime and Punishment, the other one, War and Peace, Tolstoy, like 4 times, man, and it's just
Mhm.
it's too dense. Real quick, Ibn Aziz al-Din, he wants to help me with my Discord. Dude, hit me up on my socials or my email address because I would like to take you up on that.
Yeah, perfect. And you can if you can Gulistan Saadi, I actually have that in Farsi. um I have been meaning to read it, but I haven't read much of it. um I actually, fun fact, I actually had a version of it that was printed in Germany in like the 17th century. It was really fun with like these illustrations, but the translation was very messed up. It was like very biased. So
Mm.
I'm trying to read it in Farsi, but I haven't yet done that.
But wait,
So we should end.
you
Hmm?
don't understand Farsi, do you?
I do.
Oh no way, nice. Okay, just real quick, I'm gonna check this out, but it might be worth for the rest of your things, for the rest of the viewers. Ibn Aziz al-Din, I recommend The Oath by Hassan Bayev, an autobiography of a Chechen surgeon during the wars, but it's excellent. That sounds very interesting. I'm gonna check that out. I've never heard of it
Hmm.
before. Um, guys, stay away from Khalid Hosseini for the love of God.
Why?
Um, nah, I don't like Khalid Hosseini, man. I don't like him.
You don't like him, or is there like something problem? Is he like a Zionist or something?
I don't know about all of that. I don't know him on a personal level, but I just he's like what's that term when I was talking about Andrew Tate last time? Somebody mentioned the word grifter. I feel
Mm.
like he's a bit of a grifter, a culture vulture, um, making money off Afghan culture, and then the represent, which in and of itself is not the worst thing in the world. It is what it is. That's fine. That could be a totally fine thing to do. But then when you're highlighting the absolute worst aspects of Afghan culture and you're commodifying it for an audience that you know will eat it up and which will subsequently make you a lot of money, but you know they won't get the full picture and it will form their basis of a country just through the lens of the worst aspects of it. Like in the Kite Runner, there's some not very good things happening to young boys that shouldn't happen ever, anywhere, right? And unfortunately, those things do happen in Afghanistan. But that's not the only thing that happens there, and that thing doesn't happen as much as people think it does. And one of the reasons people think that thing happens so much is as a result of books like this. So he's just so grotesquely responsible. Uh, he is, yeah, like as an Afghan, I know this is a bit of a mad statement to make. People didn't never appreciate these kind of statements, but I'm gonna make it anyway. Um, I don't think it's cool. As an Afghan, like what you're doing is just, I don't know about selling the country, but like you're not doing.
It's there's a term called poverty porn, which is when you show off poverty in a region. I like to term the like to use the term colonism porn for stuff like that. It's like when white people, you show white people this sort of oppressed civilization that sort of validates their view of our civilization. Or women are oppressed there, or
Nice, yeah.
people are flogged there. So it's kind of it's exactly the thing that Malala has you know done everything based
That's a
on.
great point. I just want to
Yeah.
emphasize a comment that's probably meant to troll me, but it's actually, thank you. It reminded me of something. Somebody said he doesn't like him because most of the villains in his stories are Hikmas people, Pakhtana, Pashtuns, Pathans. That's another thing. In a time where ethnic, maybe not religious, or even religious with the Hazaras, but ethnic sectarianism is on the rise in a place like Afghanistan, and you just want to fuel that. You want to add fire to the fuel of that, especially when a lot of the arguments made for there even being a need for tension between the different ethnicities is very flimsy. It's very, very flimsy. And I think all of those things just make what he's doing incredible. The only word to describe it is irresponsible. Just incredibly irresponsible. Like you're making tens of millions of dollars. Nice, good on you. Well done. Get your money. But you're doing it at the detriment of a nation's reputation. That's sleazy. That's scumbaggy. Like I wouldn't be able to like talk to you on a level, shake your hand, see you, treat you with a degree of respect that everybody should have from me, because you're moving like a scumbag, if I'm being honest.
I have the completely opposite view of this. I think that I'm happy to see when a villain in a story is my people. But I really dislike it. Like recently, there has been a couple of movies in which the bad guys are apparently Muslims, and they do like this amazing thing, like this huge thing, and then it turns out it wasn't Muslims at all. It was white people behind the scenes. That's something that I hate. If you want to show Muslim terrorists, show them smart. You know, make them do good, not good, but like big things. But like for example, in the show,
Make them nuanced. That's why I love The Sopranos so much. Tony
not
Soprano.
nuanced, not just nuanced,
What?
smart. Like for example, there's a show called Designated Survivor, in which a terrorist blows up the entire a terrorist organization blows up the entire U.S. Congress, and just the government is gone. The entire government is gone within seconds. And you know, that's like I was like, oh wow, this is frankly, this is a big thing. You know, this is like the terrorist organization has achieved to do something that no other power on the planet can do. This is a huge thing. But then it turns out that it wasn't Muslims or a terrorist. It was just white people. It was like a white nationalist separatist sect. Same thing happens in Iron Man 3. You have this terrorist who looks very Muslimic, and then as it turns out, he was actually a puppet for white people all along. That's something that I hate.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Smart terrorists, they always turn out to be white. That's my real problem.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyhow, I should get going now because I gotta like take a shower and then I gotta go.
Okay.
Yeah. Terrorists aren't smart, Syawish. They're persistent.
No,
Are
that's
they?
not. If you meet any
They're smart
anti-terrorists,
terrorists as well.
there are a lot of
Yeah.
smart terrorists.
You know.
If you've got the American military machine against you,
Yeah.
you're surviving and doing terrorist activities
Exactly.
for a number of years. That doesn't just
Yeah.
happen randomly.
Like Bin Laden was like the entire world was looking for the guy, and he managed to stick around for so long. You don't do that if you're not smart.
Yeah, just listen to the testimony of any anti-terrorist CIA officer, any American military.
Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to watch a very good terrorist story, I recommend Jack Ryan season 1. It has a very nuanced take. The terrorist is really smart, but he's also like nuanced because his family was killed by a drone strike. So now that's the reason that he. So it's a very good show if anybody wants to. The first season is amazing. The rest of the show, nah, but the first season was very good.
Let me give a recommendation. I've only watched it once, and when I watched it, it really hit me. For some reason, I don't know why, but ever since I can remember, the idea of drone strikes. Well, it's not for some reason. It's because like a big part of the people that get affected by it, they live in the region where I was born and kind of lived the first part of my life, I guess, Afghanistan-Pakistan border. But I despise drone strikes to an extent that it's not all logical. Like a lot of it is emotion, and I will put my hands up. So in that regard, there's a movie. It's called Eye in the Sky, I think. It's got there's a couple of legendary British/Scottish actresses. Is it Helen Mirren? I think it's either Helen Mirren.
It's 2050. Yeah, it's Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren or Judi Dench. I forget.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Helen Mirren. Dude, watch that. I'm not gonna lie, that one hit me in the feels. I watched it in the cinema, and I remember thinking, "Oh wow!" Like it really made a physiological impact on me. Movies don't really do that much. But yeah,
that's the reason that I hate Obama much more than I hate Trump, because like Obama during his reign.
I don't know if it's just me, Syawish, but your voice was cut out. I can't hear anything. Guys, can you hear Syawish? Did they mute? So it's not just me. I think you muted, man. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't understand because it was actually my could have been CIA or FBI. Somebody's saying it's CIA. um, but yeah, um, I would like that's what I'm saying. That's the reason that I hate Obama much more than Trump, because with drone strikes, you're the judge, the jury, and executioner, and this goes against everything that exists in our modern civilization. In the modern civilization, you're not supposed to just kill someone, you know. So that's why I hate
And
Obama.
I don't like. I know this happens anywhere, anyway, in war, like the idea of collateral damage. But there's something ridiculously insidious
Hmm.
about the
Yeah,
idea of just being so far removed logistically and emotionally and psychologically,
yeah,
um, and from an activity in which, yeah, you have a target, a bad guy, fair enough, even if he's not a bad guy, but just ideologically, militarily, you differ, and it's part of war, whatever. But then when there's a woman that gets torn to pieces, or a child, and you just go, yeah, it's it's a shame, but it's collateral damage. No, 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 no. Slow down, slow down. Like it
yeah.
has really far-reaching existential consequences for you to make that argument. You should not be
Hmm.
so brave in saying those things. And this is coming from a person who will say that in war, I love the fact that there's a Geneva protocol of war, right? But at the same time, I find it kind of ridiculous. The idea that you can put limitations and rules in a context or an environment which, by definition, is ruleless slash chaotic, such as war, makes it nonsensical. But this is the contradiction in Tariq's thinking. I love the fact that it's there. But even then, don't be so brave to just go, oh no, it's collateral damage. No, 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 no. That's a really big deal. Trust me. In 100
Yeah.
years, trust me. Like, don't be so brave.
And in Jack Ryan season 1, there's something about that as well, because there's this soldier who controls drones,
Hmm.
and he kills someone, and later he finds out that this guy was not who we should have killed, and so he gets very depressed over that. And I think that it's for the soldier who's using the drone, it's much more like he's very, like you said, removed from the situation. It's kind of like a video game for him, right? He's on a screen, he's got a joystick thingy, and he's like controlling. And so the environment, that the psychological
Yeah,
disconnect that you feel is the same
yeah,
when we kill people in GTA, right?
yeah.
It's not drones should be very much illegal.
Hmm.
They're just not tools of war. They're simply tools of destruction and
I don't know if
death.
they should be illegal. I don't know if what should is different. Should is different. Will they ever be illegal? I think it's impossible.
Yeah,
Should,
well,
I don't know, but it's like it needs to be reevaluated, because I do think there's a merit to it, like cost benefit analysis wise. Um, but it's just when it impacts little kids and women. Dude, you know how many examples of stories I've read where in eastern Afghanistan a wedding has been targeted because there was a bad
yeah,
guy there. Yeah,
hospitals were targeted.
dude, do you understand when you live in a rural setting in eastern Afghanistan? You really don't have a lot of celebrations. Like in a calendar year, in 365 days, you got the two Eids, and then you got weddings. Yeah, say you got three weddings in a calendar year. That's a decent number, yeah. Dude, That's 5 days out of 365, and you want to turn one of them into a living nightmare. There's a degree of psychopathy behind that
Hmm.
that is difficult for somebody even like me to grapple with. Um, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's not good,
Yeah,
man. It's not
and
good.
you can't grasp the psychopathy of that, even though you are an actual psychopath. So
I'm not an
it's
actual
like,
psychopath, but I'm saying, like, I made a statement about the Geneva Protocol, which loads of people would probably find ridiculous,
yeah.
even though I find their
Well, no,
counter.
there's a joke in some show, I don't remember, but it's in which they say, oh, it's not the Geneva rules, it's just more like Geneva suggestions. And like that's exactly what they are. They're suggestions that you shouldn't do that, but they don't have any power to
Yeah,
enforce it. It's
I
like
like that. I
it's
like
just
that.
suggestions. You
I
shouldn't
take
do that.
things a little too literally sometimes. That's my problem. But yeah, if they're suggestions, great. But if you have, don't you dare have the audacity or lack of intelligence to assume I'm gonna institute rules that will potentially harm my chances of survival just so I can appear as a good guy, even though I'm probably not gonna live to see my reputation as a good guy because I'm gonna die. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
But,
true. Because to be honest, when war begins, there are really no rules of war, unfortunately. Like when you're on the ground and all, like people often talk about, oh, this army was very immoral or this army was very immoral. All armies are immoral because there's just something that happens when you don't have any consequences, and you have power over people. But I think the Israeli army is, even by army standards, they're extra immoral. But like most armies throughout history have been immoral, so it's just war as it is.
I just
Anyhow,
don't
actually,
think it's a fair and yeah.
I gotta go now because
Okay.
sorry about that,
No, no,
cutting
no.
this short, but yeah, we'll do this again. So yeah, thank you
Okay.
very much for being here.
Thank you everybody for being here. The people who I kind of shouted out, I think there was one guy, Ibn Aziz something. Holler at me, please. I'm interested in what you said. Whoever gave me the recommendation of Hassan Bayev, thank you. Everybody else, this was lovely. Chris, calm
Dude,
down. I'm sure your nose is fine. If it's
dude,
ugly, it's
dude,
also fine. It doesn't matter, man.
dude,
With that being
stop.
said, it's
Okay,
fine if you got an ugly nose. It's all
don't
good.
do that. Greyjoy is sleeping, so he cannot be here to say goodbye. But thank you, everybody for being here. Thank you, Tariq, for being here. And it's been 6 years since this channel began.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very thankful for everybody that has joined and everybody who's been around. That's been amazing.
Congratulations, man. I just want to say,
Thank you.
Syawish, I hope you continue to do this. And I hope you understand that within 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you will 100% hit 1 million subscribers plus. You're doing a phenomenal job, my guy. I'm very glad that you are doing what you're doing because without even knowing it, you force me to be better because obviously we're friends and whatnot. But I do, in a friendly way, do see
Yeah.
you as competition and whatnot. So yeah.
See, that's where you're very capitalistic. You see everything as competition, but I don't see that
That's
as
not
competition.
capitalistic. That's natural. That's nature.
No, it's not. It's capitalistic. It's not nature.
Dude, when I meet guys that are not competitive, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, what happened? Why are you not competitive?
Because you don't need to compete with each other. That's the men or the elites trying to get you to compete with each other. It's pointless. But anyhow, I gotta go now. So thank you very much for being here, and we will talk some other day. Thank you very much.
Take care, people.
Bye.